Don't you just love it when SJWs eat their own? Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis: Revenge of the Cyber Goddess. The goddess next door takes on the threat of a deadly digital diva driven to destroy the world in this action-packed, all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis: Revenge of the Cyber Goddess featuring a bonus pin-up and the other two books in the Cyber Goddess saga at online bookstores everywhere today. NBC has announced that it will not be airing the Golden Globes for 2022. And the reason why NBC says it is not going to air the 2022 Golden Globes is because it is pushing for faster diversity reforms. Now, the Golden Globes are distributed by the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, and the Hollywood Foreign Press Association is being criticized for a lack of diversity among its ranks. Now, your Hollywood Foreign Press Association, which is the foundation that gives out the Golden Globes, is a group of 87 Los Angeles based journalists who work for foreign media outlets. And they've been under fire for months about diversity, and there have been efforts to try to admit 20 new black journalists over the last 18 months. But that's just not moving fast enough for NBC and media groups like Warner Media, Netflix, and Amazon Studios, who say they refuse to participate in any more Hollywood Foreign Press events until the organization says it's going to work towards any sort of real and lasting reform. I have to say bullshit on all of that because when it comes down to your Hollywood Foreign Press Association, NBC, and even actors like Tom Cruise who say they're going to return their Golden Globes, many of these people are absolutely full of it. And the reason why they're all full of it is because this effort to try to cancel the Golden Globes is just one big virtue signal. And it's a virtue signal by your SJWs in Hollywood in an effort to show how not racist they are passively while aggressively continuing to promote and perpetuate the same old racism in many of the films that they nominate year after year. Yes, you'll go out here and nominate more people as related to diversity. And yes, you'll go out here and find some more token shills to go out here and be part of your Hollywood Foreign Press Association. But the same old narratives get pushed in these so called diversity films and these so called diversity roles year after year. And that's why I just can say that your NBC is full of it, your Hollywood Foreign Press Association is full of it, and even those media outlets that talk about how they want to go out here and not want anything to do with the Golden Globes are full of it because many of these same Hollywood executives they had opportunities to go out here and create more positive images of black people. But when we look at what they present to be nominated for these awards, it's the same old kinds of roles where we either get black people playing slaves or we get black people out here playing alphabet characters or we get black people out here playing black brutes or we get black women playing all sorts of Jezebel and Mammy roles. And it seems like if the black characters don't fit into these same narrow narratives, then it's not considered anything as related to advancing so called diversity. So when I look at them talking about diversity reforms, how is it that we can get diversity reforms when we've got the same white people in Hollywood trying to fix the system? I mean, that's a critical question I'd like to ask many of these people, like at NBC, many of the people at the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, which hands out these bullshit awards and many of these people who talk about bringing more diversity to these award shows. Now, there's a reason why many people like myself want nothing to do with these award shows and why most people aren't watching these award shows anymore. And the reason why most people aren't watching these award shows isn't because of so called diversity, it's because we know that many of these celebrities are absolutely full of it, and the people behind these celebrities in Hollywood are absolutely full of it. And most of these people, they will sit there and talk about how they want to bring diversity to their awards, but there's no real content that they're trying to do to promote any diversity of thought. I mean, how many of these studios are going out of their way to promote new genres of film like African American fantasy and science fiction? That's a critical question I have to ask many of these studio heads who would rather make a black Superman rather than go out here and go and pick up an intellectual property from a black creator. I mean, you talk about diversity, but when black creators like myself want to go out here and pitch projects, we can't get in the door to pitch any of those projects. And that's because many of these studio heads don't want any sort of real diversity. They just want to talk around it, and they want to sit there and tell you, oh, we're against this Golden Globes, but you had no problem for years with this award show because you had no problem when the ratings were sky high. But now that you're not getting the numbers that you want to try to blame it on so called diversity. Because the main reason I believe they want to cancel the Golden Globes for 2022 is not just this scandal, it's the fact that the ratings are in the crapper, and these award shows are getting ratings so low that they're headed towards YouTuber territory. I mean, most people aren't interested in watching these award shows, and the reason why they're not interested in watching these award shows is because they're one big virtue signal by a bunch of rich leftists who want to sit there on their soapbox trying to preach to people how they're supposed to live. Meanwhile, many of these same celebrities are not practicing what they preach. They want to tell us all about their big political and social agendas, yet many of these same Pharisees and Sadducees won't lift a single finger towards any sort of political cause. And that takes me back to Tom Cruise and his hypocrisy in sitting there and saying, I'm returning 3 Golden Globes. You had no problem accepting those Golden Globes, but now because you want to virtue signal in the name of diversity, you want to go out here and say, I'm returning these Golden Globes that you have no problem accepting years ago, and you had no problem making speeches all about receiving those awards. So your Tom Cruise can take a big bottle of sit your ass down because he's completely full of it. Because to sit there and say, oh, I'm returning these awards and I'm doing this because the Golden Globes Hollywood Foreign Press Association is racist. Well, these same racists gave you that award years ago, and you had no problem accepting those awards back then. And many of these same people in Hollywood, they have no problem pushing the same racist stereotypes in many of the films that they push all over the media. But whenever somebody black wants to go out here and get a project greenlit, they run into a brick wall from many of these same executives who want to sit there and talk about diversity, but make every effort to hinder any sort of progress as related to diversity of thought, because the only black films they want to see are your hood movies, your slave movies, or your ghetto movies, or your biopics. So when it comes down to many of these people talking about, oh, they're not moving fast enough, I have to ask a critical question. How many African American fantasy films are you going to greenlight? How many stories about everyday regular black people like I write, like stories like All About Marilyn and All About Nikki, are you going to greenlight? And how many stories from black creators like myself are you going to greenlight? And the answer to that question is practically zero, because when we look at the type of projects that get produced, they are usually projects produced by your self haters like the creator of Blackish, or guys like Tyler Perry who put on certified minstrel shows. So we don't really get much diversity as related to these shows, and that's why most people look at this whole Golden Globes and this announcement of not running the show on 2022 as related to diversity as being complete BS. Because again, if you really were about diversity, you would be out here looking for fresh and unique concepts, and you'd be looking to enrich other black creators to bring real diversity so we can see real diversity on screen. And you would be looking to, you would have had that diversity in the ranks of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association years ago. So when I look at this one big virtue signal by these Hollywood SJWs, it's just SJWs eating their own and then trying to make it look like they're making some sort of progress passively, but aggressively they want to get back to business as usual, because we know that for all of your talk about so-called diversity reforms, all we keep getting are the same stories and the same characters on screen year after year. And because we get the same stories and narratives on screen, it doesn't matter what you do as related to the so-called diversity, as related to the new members in the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, because we know that all of those black recruits you're looking for are nothing more than a group of black bootlicks, and we know that those bootlicks are going to go out here and vote the way the white people want. So we know that all of this so-called push for so-called diversity isn't about real diversity of thought, and it's not about bringing any sort of real change. We know that it's all just a complete clown show, and for everybody to sit there and say, oh, we're about trying to get change, and but we're going to cancel the show because it's not moving fast enough. No, you're canceling the show because the show's ratings are moving further down. And the main reason why the show's ratings are moving further down is because viewers like myself are tired of listening to many of these leftists in Hollywood sitting there in their mansions telling us about problems in the world while they never lift a single finger to help a single American in this country. I mean, we've had a pandemic where 50% of the country has lost their jobs, and we have these people sitting here on their soapboxes talking about diversity, but they won't help a single black creator like myself get a project out there. They won't help a single black person move anything forward in their careers. And they're sitting there talking about, oh, there's not enough diversity, but many of these same people, when times were good, could care less about black people, but they only care because nobody cares about them. And more people would rather watch YouTubers like myself and many others than sit there and watch these pretentious entertainers sit there and make speeches. I mean, Ricky Gervais warned all of those entertainers about this in a speech he made, but nobody seemed to have listened. And that's why we've gone from seeing the Golden Globes on NBC than seeing them ever at all. And the reason why we're not seeing the NBC is really, again, not wanting to run these Golden Globes is because the show's ratings have tanked and cratered, and they can't get viewers to watch it, so they use this diversity excuse to virtue signal, not knowing that the doubling and tripling down on these social justice agendas is the thing that alienated so many viewers, and people are just tired of hearing from rich celebrities complaining about how bad the world is as they accept an award for a movie and a job that they performed that pays more than the average American makes at one of these service jobs where they're barely being paid $7.25 to $15 an hour. So most of the viewers feel like the celebrities have become detached from we the people, and most of the people are just tired of hearing these celebrities talk crap and never really going to, again, make an active hand to help out the average everyday man or woman. So people don't really relate to these Hollywood stars anymore because they make pretentious movies that nobody can relate to, and because they make a bunch of art house crap that nobody cares about. That's why nobody cares about the Golden Globes. And that's what goes back to a question I had to learn about when I was studying screenwriting, and the question that every writer has to answer when they're doing a film is, why should we care? And the problem is, most of your films that Hollywood produces these days are nothing most people care about, and most of the actors most people don't care about because they're tired of hearing these guys on social media talking about their political views or talking about these agendas, and people are just tired of them overall. So people, again, don't relate to the Golden Globes, and if you don't air them in 2022, it's no skin off most Americans' backs because most Americans are tired of Hollywood. They're tired of Hollywood types and their social justice agendas. They're tired of them pretending to talk about diversity, but never making an effort to help out other black creators out here and give out fresh new concepts and distribute wealth to black creators, which would help them. Because the main reason why they don't want to help black creators is because black creators, they don't want us to get rich from our own intellectual properties. They would rather have us in poverty while they continue to push their same narratives in remade films rather than give a black creator an opportunity to express themselves artistically and then profit from it financially. So when I look at this Golden Globes cancellation, it's another case of get woke, go broke, and it's another case of your SJWs eating their own, and it's another case of people trying to push their identity politics and then falling flat because most people know that many in this whole group of Hollywood are completely full of crap. Now, if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to pick up the screenplay that I wrote all about Marilyn, you can find it on Amazon.com in paperback, and you can find the scripts from my television series all about Nikki, the fabulous first season, on Amazon in paperback and Kindle as well. And if you want to pick up my other books, like the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, the John Haynes series, and the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, you can find all of those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them on Smashwords, the iBook Store, and Google Play. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, Taking Care of Business. The man who rules the world breaks in a brand new partner to help him take care of business in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get John Haynes, Taking Care of Business at paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere.